p.m. All those who are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lori, can I please get the roll call?
Thank you. Terry Gainer,
Here.
Patty Burns, here, Vice Chair King, here, Joanna Para,
Here.
Don Weber, here, Sherry Simmons, here. And we have a vacancy now that Dan Kirsch has resigned, and your ex officio is Mayor Terry Linehan. I will keep an eye out for her.
Perfect. Did everybody have a chance to look over the agenda from last month? Are there any corrections or changes to the minutes from March 11th? No. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from March 11th? Can I get a second? Okay. Any opposed? All right. Minutes approved. Lori, did you receive any public comments prior to the meeting?
I did not.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience wish to make a public comment?
The person that's on Zoom, did you wish to make a comment?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So moving on, what I passed around here in regards to the survey results that you guys did a survey over the last month on some short-term and long-term goals and things that we wish to achieve here as a board for North Plains. I compiled all of our data and want to kind of do a couple things here tonight to kind of wrap this up, hopefully, or at least get us off to a good start. So as you'll see here, we started with the short-term goals. These are all the votes that were tallied based on what you guys selected. So we can see our top choices here. We had a tie for two. That first selection was the park upgrades as far as kitchen updates here at Jesse Mays. And then we also had programming for youth at city parks or unused commercial street buildings. We could even potentially look to lump that in perhaps with some school facilities, if you will. Just you can kind of see there's an initiative here in regards to some of our youth programming. When we move on to our second category, we had kind of a three-way tie as far as our second primary objective, which would be some park upgrades, looking at some dog bag stations, signage at all parks, kind of just some minor upgrades there, as well as then our last two selections having some adult programming as well, so not just for youth but for adults. And then looking at, I thought this was interesting, some community events as far as movies and concerts in the park. And then lastly, in our third category here, receiving one vote apiece, we had some park upgrades as far as to Wentz Park. As far as playground equipment goes, we saw, and we'll get to this as far as this other packet that's passed out here as well. And then we also had another vote as well for some community events like a farmer's market. We're going to kick off some of those. So it was great to kind of see what everybody put down, what everybody's passionate about. And then I'll move on to long term to kind of explain my hope and objective for what we're going to do. Long term, 80% of people that took this survey said their number one focus for a long term goal was for a new large nature park with walking trails and space for city activities, festivals, and other events. 60% of those said their number two goal was a new facility, some sort of community and sport and recreation center to include a pool, which I found to be a good thing and very interesting. And then our third selection overall for people's third choice of priority as far as long-term goals that received 100% participation and approval across the board was a need for a new dog park. So circling back up to our short-term goals, what I want to do today is kind of open up the discussion. I think that we have 3 and 2 choices for each one. And my hope was to essentially try to establish one primary goal and objective that we want to tackle for each category. If we feel that perhaps we can take on all of these, Obviously, I'm up for conversation on that. I think there's some potential opportunity there, but I think looking at the board, how many selections we have on paper, that might be too much. And so my hope today was to try to ultimately pick, if we could, 3 to 4, maybe short-term goals that we're truly passionate about that we want to see through, and then select 3 long-term goals that we're passionate about, and then from there select a, if you will, almost like a chair, and kind of have subgroups, somebody that will head up each targeted goal, and then we can have different people volunteer that'd be willing to go on to that committee to help try to see those things through. So I guess I will start and kind of open the floor up in regards to the park upgrade, the kitchen update, that and the youth program, I think are our top choices. From there, I would say that I think it's important as far as the kitchen update goes. It's obviously a passion amongst the board, that I think that's one that we look to move to our foundations board and try to fundraise money that way. Is there any thoughts or comments to that, or a different direction perhaps that we'd want to go?
I would like to hear from Johanna to see if she was able to talk with the foundation about that. Is there any update?
No, there's no updates yet from the foundation. The first meeting I'm attending is actually this month. Should be, I think, next week.
Okay.
With the foundation. So I have not attended a meeting yet. But I've been in discussion with Cindy from that foundation that was one of the primary goals for us to bring to the foundation immediately, was for fundraising for the kitchen here.
Okay.
And that's when they gave us that form that I kind of wanted to go with everybody, go through it with everyone. I think we needed some numbers of the equipment, of what those numbers were,
Sure.
so that the foundation can have an idea of what that total cost is that we're looking at. So they're aware of how to plan and how to fundraise and what to do in regards to that aspect.
Okay, perfect. So, obviously this is our top priority. Do we have that form by chance?
Yes, we do have, I do have that form, and I believe Sherry also has a form. Cindy sent it over to everybody, and I think it was included in the last, if it was
I
in last
included it
month
in the
or
last
2
packet.
months, yeah, in
Okay.
the packet for the last agenda, it was on there, it was listed on there as well.
It's just not fillable.
Right, it was not fillable, yeah, and
I
I
can-
think the.
I can try and make it fillable. I didn't create the document, so I will try and make it fillable. We'll see.
And I think to start off, the main thing that the foundation needs though is kind of like that rounded off number of what it is that, how much we need. And I think those were the numbers that we were pending from, was it, I don't remember who, so I don't want to say a name and just call somebody out. We were expecting some numbers of something that was already, there was an estimate on what was needed to upgrade the kitchen. Those were the numbers we were waiting for.
I know that we had spoke a little bit on Monday, that's night. Do you have roughly a ballpark number that you would recommend that we bring to the foundation's board? No, we had looked at like maybe potentially like different examples and things like that. Is there something you recommend that we start as a starting point?
You can ask the board for, or you can ask them for as much money as you want. When it turns into a public project though, then we have BOLI conditions. And that's something I do not have the bandwidth for at this moment. And it is something that we would have to contract out. That turns into a much bigger deal, but I am expecting it to cost anywhere between $50,000 and $100,000 at the very minimum. I even looked at when I was at the city of Kaiser not long ago for a training, and they had a facility that was similar size, maybe a little bit bigger, but it was a much more complete kitchen facility that was very expensive. So we're probably looking anywhere between 50 and 100,000. But if the city gets involved with the payment, then we're looking at like actual costs going up because of BOLI and everything like that.
I have a question. I thought you guys were just looking at appliances right now.
Right, that was my question as well. I thought that's what we were going.
As far as appliances, we're looking at, once again, we're looking at anywhere between $20,000 and probably $50,000 if we want the high-end appliances. And that's not including any of the labor or anything, and that's gonna add up pretty quickly.
What were the main appliances that were going in? I think they had talked about that 3-tier, the sink.
Sink,
This-
refrigerator, stove, fan.
So if we're going high end or more high end, yes, it's gonna be quite a bit of money. 20,000 to 50,000, easy, just for appliances.
And then the total funding for the kitchen appliances is to come through fundraising, or is there anything at all from the city that is towards this, or completely everything would be to fundraise?
Right now, we only have enough for maintenance in our budget right now, and we do not have anything set aside for a project of this scope.
Is our goal to have a kitchen where people can rent and come here and cook for a giant number of people? No. So what's the goal with, say, a new stove? What's it for?
Everything's really old.
No, I mean, cause I worked once with one like this, and the question was, did I want something to just keep the food warm that I brought from somewhere else? Cause it is a whole different deal if we're trying to, you know, like Dustin saying, a commercial kitchen is extremely
No.
expensive.
No, we don't want a commercial kitchen, we want just a simple upgrade to what's there.
So we're not planning on cooking the food for events here.
We could,
Maybe boil water for hot dogs and
the different events we have.
things like that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, this barely passes the health department inspection.
I would think it, I can completely pass
They
it.
never closed it down yet, but
They're just being nice, but it's not a commercial kitchen. Clearly.
yeah,
Well, most of the.
I mean, that would be my long-term question. I think Dustin brings up, that I think the numbers surprise us, but we're gonna go all in. The problem is, can we kind of sort of do it? That's the problem. You know, do we have to go all in, which is very, very expensive, as Dustin's saying, or do we say we're not gonna ever cook it just Jesse May, we're gonna let people warm stuff up?
well, with
they
a
bring-
better stove, you could cook with I mean, everything needs to be. I mean, I can't even tell you how old everything is.
I thought the priority was like a commercial refrigerator or a bigger,
Bigger refrigerator, one that works,
refrigerator.
and
and then the sink has to be
a three.
a 3-sink one, or else we'd have to put a dishwasher in, which we don't have the room and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're looking at high-end everything except maybe the refrigerator. The stove just needs to be better than your minimum, right? I mean, it's not like it gets used even once a week.
Yeah,
So that would take the price down some, right?
We could probably solicit for donations for someone's old stove and a range hood that's newer than what we already have. That would be another option as well.
I think goal is just to try to be able to get more use out of it than we already can.
Right, and I would think that if we requested $49,000, which is under the $50,000 mark, that we should be able to get those items for that kitchen.
You know, again,
Yeah.
It has to be top of the line.
Mhm.
my only caution from a different experience I had is the cooking. You know, like, I think we could have a microwave, a very nice fridge where they can store things, a nice thing, to clean things, all that, but once we get into cooking, it's just such a mess. I mean, we had a couple cases, we had to see if we could install an automatic on-off thing because a few people accidentally left it on. I mean, commercial ovens are more complicated. And they would turn it on, they forgot to turn it off, which, you know, is just a nightmare in a whole building like this. And how would we control if they knew how to run it? That would be my only question is, do we just upgrade it in such a way that we're not gonna cook here, but we're gonna have a very nice stove for you? We're gonna have a very nice sink, nice countertop, so you can bring all your food in, keep it from going bad, then you haul it out, but we are not.
That's normally how our rentals go.
So
If they're
then
not
maybe we
cooked here.
don't get a brand new stove, because like I said, that's what scares me is, that's the huge problem in these issues. Again, I trust you, the problem is we have all these other people that use it.
Yeah, But I still think that we can buy a very nice stove for $2,500. Yeah.
You just have, the problem is, we're like Patty's saying, we're halfway in and halfway out. They're gonna say, as soon as we start doing some nice things, the stove thing, the hood thing, the vent, all of the licensing things.
We can put on our application that those are not, the refrigerator and the microwave are available for rental use, but the stove is not. We can put any kind of restrictions or whatever we want on rentals. I mean, it's. Most people, when they rent, it's for a birthday party or an anniversary party. They're not really having a lot of food, or if they do, it's a potluck. They're bringing cake and cookies and, you know, punch or whatever, so.
I mean, there is a way to do that. If we say it's just for the special event people.
Right.
We could even
Yeah.
wire it in such a way, like we actually have a thing, and without the right thing, you could activate it. You know, and we could do that, so it's not. Cause the stoves are the huge problem in these kind of kitchens. Cause they get left on and people don't know how to run them, and there's so many different kinds. And are they vented correctly, and
Well, I think just looking at some, do some quick Googling here and looking at the cost of some stuff. I think and this, again, this is just looking at, like, let's say Home Depot.
Mhm.
Commercial refrigerator looks like roughly $4,000 or so, nothing too big, but average size. Commercial sink with the 3 sink option, roughly $2,500. Now I'm adding a little bit more than based on what I'm seeing. Stove about $4,000, and then a commercial microwave about $1,000. So all in, we're roughly about 12 or 13 grand.
We have
And then-
we just put in a new microwave that's pretty good, so
Okay.
we probably need a vent.
The range hood on top of that, and then
Yeah.
of course, all the work, the labor to put in,
That we
everything.
haven't taken into account yet.
Correct. And so that could easily get up to about 20,000 just in that, if we go kind of at the bare minimum that we're talking about. But if we wanted to
Okay.
go a little bit higher end with the
Yep.
refrigerator, then we're looking at a little bit more.
Okay, so what number would we like to ask
what
for?
about 20? I mean, if we go too high, they're gonna not, you don't do it.
Well, yeah, you can always go back then later on and ask for,
Yeah, I don't think it has to be a set amount right now, and that's like the top final, and no changing it. It's just an average of getting a perception for them of where to start and where it needs to go. So
Okay.
I think if we go in saying we need about 2025, I think that's a good range to say.
What do you
Where
think?
we're at.
I think 25 would be a good number to start with.
Is that gonna cover the labor? Would that cover the labor? Maybe we'll get someone to.
donate.
Donate.
Well,
Let's
the
start.
prices that Zach gave, total, well, I don't have a range hood in there, but it's about $12,000.
Mhm.
So if you ask for 20, that gives you 8,000 for labor or for countertops or for whatever. And then you can, you know, then we can maybe find somebody that's willing to do some of the work pro bono.
Do we wanna go 20 or do we wanna go 25? You see,
25.
25?
Yeah.
I'd make a motion, we do 25. So I think the motion is you're gonna ask however that needs to be said, for giving her the.
Yeah.
25.
Give her the recommendation to recommend that they raise up to about $25,000.
Yeah.
For this fund.
Another thing to consider is hiring a contractor to be able to put all this together. I do not have the bandwidth to do this myself. Or someone from this board step in and do this, but this is something I do not have with all the other projects that I have. I cannot do this unless I have a facilities manager, which might be another 5 years down the road.
I would like to see us ask for $45,000. Because we could, pay for a contractor and potentially get into county costs as well.
Okay.
That's something there that.
You're saying go from 25 to 45?
Yes.
What's the extra 24?
Well, we're gonna have to pay for a contractor and on top of the labor.
it depends who we have. Sometimes the worker is a contractor.
Maybe, I'm not.
That's one, we have every tool in between operator.
So what number would you like to pick?
Because if
Would we
you
wanna
have
pick a
extra
range?
money, have extra money, you take it for,
I think 25 to 45,000 would be a good range.
Okay, if we wanna, they need a hard number, don't they?
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
they need a hard number
So,
and they
what-
need specific items.
Yeah. you
So
have-
like we need an actual specific stove, a specific,
and you're gonna need to
refrigerator.
List the items and and approximate cost that we have researched that it would be,
Yep.
the labor's gonna be and we haven't looked at countertop costs either, but
What do we think? We have 25 or 45? We wanna play safe and then shoot for the higher number, do we wanna go,
All I can say is no.
okay? Have it professionally done, look for new counters,
I mean, we suggest the two numbers with the contractor being the middleman out, with the
Okay.
two ideas.
and push,
That makes sense.
okay? We have a motion to approve, we wanna,
what are we approving now? I wrote down 25, then I crossed that out and put 45, so what are we going for?
did somebody make a motion? Who did?
But we can, and then you can skip that and then, because it's never seconded, so
Can you-
45. So I withdraw that.
Okay.
We change it to 45. So
45.
there's a second to 45.
Second.
Sorry.
Any opposed? All those in favor? Okay, motion approved. We'll go 45. Okay. Perfect. Let's see. I mean, I can get you some information tonight as well on this.
Okay.
So we have some rough numbers like this too.
Okay, perfect.
I'm gonna put on the paper and move forward. Okay, perfect. Now looking through, for the rest of our goals here, we have kind of three in common, programming being a big one between, adult and youth. And my thought is, let me know what you guys think. We can either keep them separate or we can kind of combine them into one. And kind of have programming overall as a whole. Now we're looking to serve two different needs, programming for adults or programming for our youth, or we can start simple and just choose one or the other. I think obviously we just came to an agreement on the kitchen, which is great. I think our next one we're looking at here is programming, and then from there, moving on to some park upgrades. So we're to kind of round out and kind of get our, hopefully, maybe 3 to 4 short-term goals that we want to tackle. What are our thoughts on the programming? Do we want to specifically look at just youth for this year? Do we want to try to tackle it give ourselves an entire calendar year to prep and prepare? We want to do both, youth and adult. What do we think?
First off, I think we probably should give ourselves a year, because I don't know, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I assume by now, from my understanding is that any youth programs or a majority of them that we could help contract out would already be booked in advance already for the summer.
And we, look, we talked about the one.
I'm in the process of, I just spent the last week and a half, which
Into a stalemate.
it's weird because I just found out today, the woman I'm trying to get a hold of, who's the only person you talk to, so facility rental is on an emergency leave and won't be returning phone calls. And eventually, after 4 calls, they said, yeah, I guess we should probably assign that task to someone else. Oh, that would be helpful. So then they assigned that to somebody else who evidently doesn't want that task, so he ended up calling me back. So it's frustrating because I feel bad for this person who's gone. This Denise, I feel bad for that, but they have no other system in place. So that's been my frustration. Because basically you go through Facilitron, which is not a highly reviewed software to reserve anything. And I tested it out And one of the gyms is, they told me both would be $18.85. One of them comes in at $28 per hour and the other came in at 80. The two North Plains gyms don't even click the same way. So of course, then I have to talk to Denise, and Denise no longer exists. And the backup person doesn't want to be the backup person. And the other two people I talked to said, why are you talking to me? So I will keep on that, but it is a bit frustrating because what I would like to do, when I've talked to others, is a few of us would just try an evening, get some kids there, see how it goes, see what people are most interested, what age group comes. So we definitely will do that in the next few months. It's just slower than you want it to be. The city did say they have some money, and I'm working with Andy, and we will get some supplies and we'll try it. I think it just always takes longer than you think it would. I mean, my thought on the whole recreation thing is, what we're really gonna have to do is look big picture. I think in the long run, we're gonna need at least a part-time staff person. You know, what we're talking about is the two sections, parks, recreation programming and all that eventually needs a person that works for the city, just like the library has a lot of staff. We're gonna have to get involved in the budget process and start to move that direction, which is gonna take a while. In the meantime, we'll rely on volunteers. You know, again, my thought is, once we get a foothold in trying some things in these gyms, see which kind of parents show up and then see what they have energy for. I mean, I met somebody the other day and the man and the wife are both very athletic. The woman is a retired professional WNBA player, very high-end athletes. He played a little bit of professional football. So if those people were willing to volunteer for us, they seemed interested, we could do some things. We could host a basketball camp run by one of our people. So I'm still hoping to get some of those things going just from the energy of North Plains, basically, but it's taking a while.
So.
And no offense to Denise, I don't know what happened.
A more of a long-term thing for next year then.
No, we definitely would like to be in the gym in the next couple of weeks. You know, again, all we're gonna do to start with is, I've got enough of a group already. I can get 10 families very easy, 20 kids. And then invite a smaller group just the very first time, see who shows up, see what kind of activities they like the most. Then we launch it at both schools. You know, as Zach's talked about too, we just start with 4 times, 6 times, whatever, and just see what happens. And we'll make sure it's well supervised. Some of us will be there. Again, the model is the community center in Hillsborough does it all the time, and they just let kids run around and have a lot of options. You can come over here and shoot baskets. You can come over here and do this, come over here and do that. So, yes.
Oh, good. I didn't mean
No, I think we should be able to get it started,
to.
and then we'll just kind of see where it goes.
No, I agree. I think, before we get too into the weeds of all the details of all these, I think the kitchen is the most pressing because she has to meet next week. So I want to tackle that. But what I would like to do, because I think these are amazing done, and I don't want to, with respect to time, I don't want to get too deep. What my goal would be is, because we have so many lists in our short term, to try to narrow it down to 3 or 4.
Yep.
And then from there, we can form our subcommittees. And then at that point, we can start talking specifics. Are you guys okay with that? If we kind of narrow those down, are you guys okay with that?
Yeah, so let's say the
Okay.
short term really is kids stuff.
So do we want to, as far as programming, do we want to make kids our #1 priority, see how that goes, and then look at adults? The
I
next
think just because
time around, so we have a couple different options here.
since we have me and you and some others with energy to do this, let's start with that, because we've got a foothold in it. We don't have anybody calling for adult stuff yet, so let's just start with it.
Okay,
And other girls.
anybody disagree? We want to start simple and make sure we can get it off the ground and go from there, and then expand perhaps maybe next year to adult events.
I agree. It's better to start with the youth first and then see even what the interest in and what those age groups are.
Okay.
Of interest in youth, and then from there, obviously from the youth, we'll be having conversations with the adults and parents and things. It's gonna be kind of like an outreach type of,
Yeah,
test trial. And then from there, we'll see what that generates to go and move forward with an adult programming.
My thought process is sort of the opposite. That we would want to spend, it would take more time and need to spend more time getting together a youth program or. Maybe it's just me, but I feel as if an adult program would be easier to set up. A couple of different adult programs for the summer.
Which of us, I mean, you gotta be realistic, which of us is saying I'd like to do that?
Yeah, I just.
Because we don't have a staff person. So we have, fortunately, I think there's three of us that said we're interested in working on the kid stuff. Now, I don't, if somebody here says, I want to start some adult stuff, but I'm not sure, do we have that?
Well, and I think we have to kind of broaden up the definition of programming, because I don't think that's what we're really planning on having this set in stone programming per se for this summer. I think in our last meeting, what we talked about was more of a test run and open play concept, to where we can open up these locations where there be 1 week, we do 1 day at one school, the following week at the other school, and depending on whether another day maybe out here or, somewhere else in one of the parks location. And that open play concept was, I think the only thing we were needing was getting equipment, maybe like a basketball, a soccer ball. In that open play concept, I do have 1 or 2 volunteers that are willing to come and do a futsal with the kids one time and test run it, and another one with pickleball for youth, another one. And so it's all more of a test run and not per se programming that this is what we're gonna have every week at such and such time. I believe we had discussed more on a trial run on a once a week basis and see what, because we don't even know what the community wants and who and what age groups are there. So I think in order to really set a program, Parks and Rec programming, we first need to know what our community wants and what age group and kids, what is it that they want to see more. And the only way I think to see that is be out there in the community and open up these open play spaces and get feedback and see who's showing up. And is this working? And if it's not, and that would really, and that's going to be really the way for us to know, are we going to spend money or raise money to really create a more substantial model of programming down the line?
I agree, because people can complain that there's nothing for kids to do.
Yeah.
And then somebody goes to all the work of getting something set up and nobody shows up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you don't know if you try.
No,
And we also need to check to see what other youth activities are going on outside that kids are already attending.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if we could do some kind of a survey in, the newsletter.
I'll talk to Andy. That's a pretty big, doing a survey like that is kind of a big thing. And I think they're looking at possibly another one for another thing that would probably take priority over this. So I'll mention it to him and see what he says. But I remember you guys saying, I think, Don, it was more like just an open play
yeah.
thing in the
Simple to start.
beginning, nothing structured really, other than having maybe someone that can teach them how to dribble the ball, the very basics. I'm with Joanna, I wouldn't call it programming when you talk to people about it, because they get in their head what a program is, and we're not there yet by any stretch.
I think all we're committing to at this point, if we're gonna put something down, is I think Zach, you had a good idea, maybe 6. We're gonna have like 6 or 8
Activity nights.
gym nights.
Yeah.
And then the survey, in a sense, is gonna take place through those nights.
Right.
So we'll talk to the people that come and say, I don't think it would be a problem. I can prepare a checklist for those that come. What's your favorite activity you want to see happen at these events? Boom, 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 boom.
Right,
Okay.
does this
So-
time for work for you?
Right.
Would you rather have
Yes.
little kids from 5 to 6 and older kids from 6 to 7? I mean, you can, you can do a survey of the
Yeah.
people that attend,
Just
that's
the people that
great.
come, it'd be very simple.
Yep,
I think so.
and I can, whip one of those up on the computer and print it out so that you can have it ready for all 6 or 8 of the evenings that you decide to do this.
Perfect. So is it safe and fair to say that this is perhaps our second goal that we want to tackle?
Yeah.
Kind of right behind the kitchen. We okay to kind of do that and then kind of keep plugging away through these? Does that sound fair? Motion to approve that as number 2.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion approved. Perfect. All right, now moving on real quick here as well. It looks kind of through these. We have a couple here for park upgrades as well outside of the Jesse Mays, but also looking at the dog bag stations, signage, and even some playground equipment. I think in some way we could probably lump these together into one category as well. Maybe looking at additional equipment, signage, some dog bag stations too. I guess I will open this up to the floor. Are we comfortable and perhaps maybe lump that as our third short-term goal?
I think the dog bag stations were, Sherry, you were just talking about right here, right?
Yeah.
That's nothing. I mean,
Okay.
Public Works can take care of that.
We might actually have a few extras in
Yeah,
our
that's
shop.
Yeah. There's one out here by the glass.
Yeah, you can consider that one basically taken care of.
Okay, so we're looking into actually putting dog bag stations here and allowing the dogs on the field. Okay, just making sure.
They're not allowed on the field right now.
Well, they should not be allowed on the turf,
Thank you.
correct?
Are there signs stating that?
Something.
All I know is I went walking through the middle of the tennis court and basketball court one day, and there was a big pile from a dog in the basketball area.
That's been a complaint, and I've got to go look back at the signs that we have, and there's a bunch of different signs that I could put up in addition to what we have.
Maybe it's that the signs haven't been put back up, because I do remember there being signs for that.
Because it's a park, people are gonna bring their dogs.
Yeah,
And I think I remember seeing a small dog on the court. That I was distracted.
This was a big dog.
And the question is, if we had more bags, would they have picked it up?
See, that's just it. I mean, there's some people that just,
I mean.
if they were there, why couldn't they have gone over into the ditch area where, people don't walk?
But are there any poopy bags around Jesse May?
I don't recall. I don't think so.
So let's do that for starters and then see. if
Yeah,
that-
that's an easy.
Because we wouldn't be talking about this if the dog went, but they picked it up.
Yeah.
Let's get some dog bags.
Okay, I'll just make sure that the dog stations are not by the park itself, but more on the other side. And we can get some more signage that basically says no pets allowed on the turf or courts. It should be a common sense thing, but
It's not.
common sense.
But I would still have, because I can see what happens, people bring their dogs with their kids.
Mhm.
I've seen the parents, they're standing back a bit
Oh, yeah.
from the playground, but then the dog still is gonna go. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
would still have some doggy bags over here. It's gonna happen.
Well, we could maybe put them by the.
I'll put them by the,
You have a
restroom.
water hole that's
Yeah.
chained to the.
yeah,
fountains.
I'll probably put it over here.
Or you could, maybe we need 2 sets.
Well, yeah, we definitely do. This is a big enough area, but we do.
Mhm.
Perfect. So could I get a motion to approve park upgrades as potentially our third category here?
The only question I have is this one of the ones that we're talking about? This isn't the upgrade yet. New playground stuff? This is just the doggy bag. Okay.
Motion to approve the dog bag.
I'll second it.
Signal.
Any opposed? Okay, motion approved.
On those kind of things.
We're all in favor?
do a
Sorry.
Consensus vote, yeah.
Motion approved. Perfect. All right, now lastly, kind of looking up here at the short term, community events. I think that looking right now, we have 3 that we've come to an agreement on, new kitchen upgrades, youth activities, and then some park upgrades to dog stations, potentially signage, things like that. The last one I think that we could look to tackle would be community events, looking at maybe perhaps movies and concerts in the park, and or some sort of a farmer's market, something like that. We want to open the floor to perhaps having this be maybe our fourth and final for our short-term goal that we can look to tackle within the next year. I'll flip the floor to anyone like to go and discuss.
I know that Rowan has been working on it.
Farmer's market, yes.
Yeah, that's a city thing right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't
You
know
can
where
kind
that
of,
is, but I
uh,
guess-
Put
Cross
it
off
on
the
the
list.
back burner from this group, yeah,
Okay.
he's, our rare person is, she's been talking to a lot of people.
Who's Ron again?
Huh?
Who is this person? again?
Rowan is our rare.
She's our rare volunteer, she's, do you remember,
Doug, remember Doug?
Remember Doug?
Yeah.
He was here, they're here for a year at a time. Rowan's here, he'll be done in a couple months. We'll get somebody else in. They just kind of pick a couple of projects and just really focus on them. She's focused on the farmer's market and she's focused on upgrading the little bus
The bus stop over there by the
Bus
senior
stop.
center.
places.
Cause I remember the last time we had really talked about the farmer market, the Pilgrim's Nut
Yeah,
lady had said she would be willing to, but that was before she opened up her.
yeah, she's she's too busy now. She can't do it. But like I said, Rowan's been talking to all kinds of people in the area, producers and
Well, just for that is obviously my suggestion is for her to talk to her more about it since she had the experience in those.
she may have already talked to her. I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, that's just it.
Yeah.
Perfect. So then, movies and concerts in the park, is that something that as a board we would like to?
So we already have concerts in the park.
I
Okay,
think it's more so, I think this one's more so like expanding what we already do. Is more of what this suggestion.
I don't think I would expand, I think I would just figure out how to support what Patty's already doing, I mean,
okay,
because we already have it, right?
It's not just Patty, it's the Parks Board. Just volunteered to take the lead on it so far. So.
You're not, that's not part of your job, the concert thing, that's a.
No,
It's the Parks Board.
it's Park Board.
So it's not the special.
No.
I guess
No,
I
it's not a
misunderstood.
NEPA thing.
No,
So you're the special events person, but special events is not concert.
No, concerts is through the Parks and Recreation Board only.
That's why it's considered
I did-
park.
So
I
you
just put that together
Yeah,
for
it's
the last,
something-
whatever,
Yep.
years, 5 years or whatever it is. Do we have a budget for that, for concerts?
not,
We do. I'm sure we do.
I don't have it offhand. They could look in our budget book real quick.
I'll make a note to,
So you had a budget in the past, right?
oh, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
But that's not part of the, is that the recreation budget
part,
for?
yeah, parks. and
It's
Rec, yeah.
it's budgeted in, it was budgeted in last year for the 2-year
Okay.
thing, so.
How many concerts are done throughout the summer or have been done in the past?
3.
3.
Okay,
One of them is normally 4th of July.
Mhm.
okay.
And then there's usually one either in June or August. and
Well,
one is in
it
September.
ends up being,
Oh, the ice cream
ice cream
social.
social. And then sometimes we have 1 or 2 more, it just depends on the year and,
The funds and who's
Yeah.
available.
yeah.
Well, if this has already been done, I think I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, from the perspective, it'd be more of getting an updated info on what the budget is and maybe for those, or maybe I'm speaking about on myself since I'm new, kind of getting that SWOT from, is there a SWOT of how it's gone, what worked, what has not worked in the past, that maybe that's what we can move forward with as a group here with everybody and help all of us help with, what didn't work in the past that we can make better for this year with the community and things like that.
Well, they've gone fairly well. 4th of July last year was hot. And so we didn't have a lot of attendance.
And wasn't the Sunset Ridge, that one was real sparse also.
It was more.
But there was a few people, that was a good turnout for,
Like 50, not, to be
well,
honest.
we never had a huge gathering.
Well,
Right.
we used to have a couple hundred people show up.
Out here.
Maybe 100, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was.
I mean, the thing,
Depending on the demand.
the thing I noticed was, I was surprised, because I thought the attendance was pretty low, except when we combined it with something else.
Right.
So I thought that was the grand success,
Yeah.
the ice cream night, the things going
Yeah.
on, it's on the city streets, so some people went into the Rogue and had a beer, and then they came out and danced,
Yeah.
that was a grand success. So I wonder if that would be the goal, to just link things with something. The standalone events didn't seem to just attract many people.
Well, I think part of it is the time of the day. Too, because it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right, that's, people said that also.
Yeah.
It's too early.
We're like,
So,
Sorry,
no,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say the budget for concerts in the park is 1,000 a year, and I don't have the amount that we had from last year. But looking at the 23,
$1,000.
$1,000 per fiscal
No.
year.
That's because we paid more than that for one band.
Concerts in the park? What am I looking at here?
I'm pretty sure if I remember that, that was at least 3,500.
That's what I was remembering, is what we did, is took, that was,
My bad, I'm looking at revenues.
yeah.
I'm looking at a different one. I am looking at the wrong one. I am sorry, I have it down here. I was looking at the wrong one. Concert in the park. I do not see $6,700
That's,
per year. I don't know what we spent last year.
it's a.
That's
it's-
per year. So you've got 6,700 times 2. So I do not know what we spent last year.
that was the 2 year.
Well,
It's a biennium.
It's a
but
biennium.
I know we paid more for Johnny Limbo,
yes.
but that was kind of an exception thing. It wasn't a normal concert in the park band. We hired a big name to go with our anniversary celebration. I don't know how much we paid them. Do you? 4,000?
No, 3,000.
3,000, yeah.
Okay.
But we normally don't pay that much for a concert in the park.
So then ultimately, do we want the concert in the park or movies? Is that something we want to take on as a board? or continue to do?
Movies, I have no background in that, and that
Okay.
requires a license,
Okay,
to show the movies, so that's really on the library.
Well, and Andy's talked to the city manager of Cornelius. They do it all summer long.
Mhm.
So, and I'm not sure what he found out.
I think we need to find out what license the library has, because some places it's just at your facility, and some places you can do it outside. So it depends on the license that you have. to
I
do it.
know last year when I did the movies in the parks with City of Hillsborough, I believe we paid, I think it was like $45, and we bought the DVDs directly through them. And then the extra fee of, I think it was $45, and that gave us the licenses to be able to show it, like you just said, at one place at each park, that one movie.
How was the turnout?
Oh, the turnout was amazing, all movies
The
were.
turnout in Cornelius is always huge.
In Hillsborough, the turnout was amazing.
I would love to see a couple movies out.
Yeah.
out
And then
here.
we had like different styles. Last year, we proposed for the community to vote, so. We voted on one kids movie, one family movie, one kind of like an oldie but a goodie type of thing, and I think there was and a PG-13, so there was 4, selection of 4, one PG, one G, so one literally a kid's cartoon, one an oldie but a goodie, yeah, a PG-13 and something else.
The plus about the movies is it starts later, it's not as hot.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's not as hot.
And we can
You want
still,
to work well.
I'm sure Patty could still get the food trucks, like, always, you know.
And we could like sell popcorn or whatever.
Yeah.
Right, that was always a plus. We had 1 or 2 food trucks and a popcorn person or a kettle corn person. And the ones that were later in the summer, ice cream, or what is it, the shave ice?
Yeah,
vendor,
Kona Ice.
Kona
Yeah.
Ice, that's exactly what it
Yeah,
is.
and there's that new ice cream lady up at the food.
Oh, yeah, the
box.
neighborhood creamery.
Yep.
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 And maybe we could. have her-
She's open. I had talked to her. I checked in with her and she said she would be willing to she's open to doing events out here and be more
Mhm.
out here in the community more so. Yeah.
So can I start a motion then to approve movies in the park as our fourth short-term goal?
Would it be would it just be to add movies in park or sort of tie together and or increase our park events? As a motion.
I think it would be adding movies to it.
Okay.
Do we have a person who's feeling like that's something they want to take the lead on in this group? Because I'm not saying, that's not fair to say, Patty's gonna.
That's not good movies.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we have a possible in with renting the equipment from Cornelius. I think what Lori was talking about, we might be able to rent that equipment, obviously, when they're not using it. And that was a discussion that was had with Andy. And so I don't know what the actual process would be with that or the charge.
And then I can look into the licensing and with the company that I used last year.
And I'm willing to help wherever needed with that.
I think it'd be wonderful if we could link it with affirming some local businesses, you know, is there a way that Froyo could bring some stuff over, the ice cream person?
I wish they had a food cart. They don't.
They do.
Froyo. Cup-a-yo.
Cup-a-yo.
Cup-a-yo has one.
Yo is in the Garlic Festival.
I don't have to go there to get it.
Just so happens she's on the Economic Development Committee,
But it
commission,
would
so.
be nice to affirm the local businesses or whatever. it
Yeah,
is.
okay,
Like, are you saying maybe have a movie sponsor?
yes. I find the business and have their food.
Yeah, and create sponsorship. Bless you.
Excuse me.
So can I start a motion to approve?
So moved.
Need a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, okay, motion approved, perfect. All right, so we have our 4 short-term goals established. We'll go through this just a second and delegate ahead. Actually, let's do that really fast before we go on to our long-term, and then we can move on. I know I want to be sensitive to time. We're kind of approaching here to 7, so don't want to keep you guys too long. In regards to kitchen upgrades being our number 1 top priority here, would anybody like to be the lead on that? Or can we delegate a lead, and then from there we can make a subcommittee of people that like to help?
Well, I think that Patty and I are willing to go and shop
Okay,
for the items.
okay,
I would recommend myself, but I have no food.
okay. So Patty and Sherry, do you want to be the leads on that? Okay. Good. All right. Well, do I have to prove that too, or can I move on to the next one?
Hmm?
Do I have to approve that? as
No, you
well?
don't, and actually, I was gonna try to tell you earlier, you can just do consensus on this kind of stuff, because it's not really making any rules or anything. So you
Okay.
can just ask for consensus vote, it's a lot easier.
Perfect.
One ask.
Okay, perfect. And then moving on to youth activities. Anybody would like to take the lead on that? Okay, yep, and I'm willing to help with that too, so I can put my name down,
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
Okay, you wanna go as well? Okay. All right, the park upgrades. Looking at like dog bag signage, even potentially some playground equipment. Anybody would like to take the lead on that?
Well, that's already in the works.
It's already in the
Starting to
work.
work?
It's already in the work.
Okay, so we're good there?
You just say, put the city in charge of that.
Okay, Sioux City, so hey. we're
I
off to a good
volunteer
start.
tribute.
Hey, 1 out of 4, we already knocked out in 1 day. We're off to a good start. Movies in the park. If anybody like to take the initial start on that?
I can do that.
Who's done movies in the park?
Okay, and then Mr. King.
Yeah, and I'm willing to help too.
Okay, Sherry. I'll help with that as well. But does anybody want to join or help out anybody else in charge of any other committees?
So are we doing concerts?
Yes,
Okay.
this is just adding movies.
So our program heads right now, I'll go through this one more time and see if anybody else like to jump on for kitchen upgrades. I have Patty and Sherry. Would anybody else like to join them in their research? Or systems through that process? I can help, I'll give you the information to that as well. And then activities for youth. We have Dawn, myself, and Joanna. Anybody else? No? Okay. And then park recreation are all set. Community events. We have Joanna, Mr. King, Sherry, and myself. Anybody else? Want to join? No? Okay, so we're comfortable with these?
Mhm.
Perfect. All right, last little bit here, a little easier, I think, is our 3 long-term goals.
Can I start off with number 3?
Yeah, I know we're pressed for time, so feel free.
Got it.
Take the floor.
All right. Did you have anything else? I just wanted to put that.
No. I was gonna divvy up who's gonna do the top 2 and we're off and running.
All right, I can already give you the news about number 3. We're in the works with Jewett Cameron to put up a fence in Purple Park, and they are partnering with the city to be able to do this. And we're just waiting on the time and the materials. And I already have a Boy Scout who is working on his Eagle Scout with a whole posse of helpers to be able to put all this together. And this could be something that we have done within the next month or 2, maybe. So that is probably, it's a long-term thing, but it's probably the thing that's going to get done the quickest.
Yeah,
We already have the backer.
we've had a backer for quite a while,
Yeah.
actually. Jewett Cameron, they do a lot of dog supplies anyway and fencing and stuff, so they've said all along, we'd love to work with you. It's just,
Timing and materials.
Has there been
That's
a
great.
actual meeting? So I was over at the park today,
Mhm,
talked to a few dog owners.
mhm.
What they brought up, they're big fans of it, but the problem with that park currently is the low end.
We can't do anything with the low end. The only thing that we're going to do is put up a fence, and we might have to close down that park for part of the year because it floods. We cannot do anything to the part of the park that's in the flood, the flood area.
So what the suggestion was, the problem is there's these rodents, what's the name of them? They have a weird name.
Nutria?
Nutria are overwhelming the bottom part because
Mhm.
it's always wet. So the discussion was, and you can tell now if you go over there, like today, when they mowed, they couldn't go down into the soggy part. So the idea with these dog people was you need 2 sections of fence, one to basically abandon the lower flooded part. And you can see when you look at the park, it kind of narrows. And about where the grass line is, you know, because the guys quit mowing the grass because it was so soggy. If you put a fence down there and a fence up above, because what they were saying is you've got to separate these rodents from the dogs because they carry diseases, they're very dangerous, and it's not gonna work if we.
So you're saying we can't put a dog park there because of the rodents that are there?
I'm saying you need 2 fences, so what we.
That's not going to happen, Don.
No,
We beggars can't be choosers. We can't ask them to provide more fencing than what they have already volunteered to give up. It's going to be a use at your own risk kind of
Mhm.
park. We can't keep on adding on to the project. What we get is what we get at this point.
So then, if we're only, so you're saying all we can get is the upper fence?
Right now, that's what we are going to get.
Okay,
Yes.
So in the short run, then I would just have the city crews go down and repair the fence, because the rodents are coming in through the problems with the fence, and then maybe we can keep them out just by repairing what's already there. Cause there's some holes that they're coming under.
Is there a fence along the right?
There is a chain link fence that is mostly Clean Water Services responsibility. So that's going to be another coordination issue that I can make sure that that gets done. But if animals keep on crawling underneath the fence, that's something that we're going to have to coordinate with animal trappers and stuff to be able to do that. And that's
Qualitin, watershed people, and we just had them come and make a presentation at
Correct.
council a few weeks ago.
But right now we can do a fence at the top to basically keep all the dogs in one area, but everything else we can add as necessary.
As we.
As funds permit.
Correct. So
I mean, it might not be that hard to send the guys over there, maybe these 2 openings, the dog owner said there's 2 ways they come in, maybe it wouldn't be that hard to close those off. I don't know. But they're saying they have a serious concern, the dog people, because I guess what they carry can actually kill the dogs, these diseases and things, so they're not good matches to have. But again, I get it, we can't put another fence in, maybe we can just repair the holes.
Well, maybe if we have more dogs in the location, the roads will stop going to be there. Maybe
You never know.
because, you know, rodents aren't known for their bravery.
Okay,
And then that'll be, closed at certain times of the year,
Most likely.
yeah.
Okay.
It's just.
When
Well,
it
I
gets,
think
when
it's
the
like
water
other
line
parks
moves up.
That they have to close. if it gets
We're gonna
flooded.
have to play that by ear when we close that. There are some dog lovers that love their dogs getting into the water and the mud and flinging around. And any dog park that I've been to is more of a use at your own risk kind of thing. And that's basically
That there is
a sign,
that says
your
that,
own
because
risk. Beware of
when I was
wildlife.
There along this, so if you're looking at that part,
Mhm.
there's a fence to your left.
Mhm.
There was a stream going down the bottom of that fence,
Mhm.
and I could just see people bringing their dogs get muddy, and they're gonna start
Mhm.
knocking on city doors
So
saying,
once
So, yeah, it's use at your own.
yeah,
once we start shutting off the areas that flood, that's over half of that lot. And so it ceases to become a usable dog lot. So that's the reason why we're putting just one fence at the moment.
the range discussion, which is a year or so from now, would be, the city's gonna take possession of the large park in Sunset Ridge. And there's been discussions over there. At some point, there's a huge grass area that's probably bigger than a football field that's not highly used, that there could be a section of that fenced off for a dog park. And that would work very well. It would be a nice place for a dog park. The mayor actually talked about this a couple of years ago. Again, we don't have to decide it now. That would be a discussion maybe a year from now. If this one part works, then maybe they want to do more and, yeah, but that's a potential second site.
Isn't that part, supposed to expand with an expansion? Is that the plan on that part?
We have to get to the urban growth discussion before that happens, but the idea is yes.
The plan that it was gonna expand.
Correct. And we take over that park, the city maintenance, which is another maintenance issue that we're coming across. We take over that maintenance of that park in August. And that incurs an additional cost. And also with the fence, it's a great idea for a fence, but we'll have to get Jewett Cameron or someone else to help provide for that fence as well. So it's a great idea, but funding is kind of tight right now. Yeah.
Perfect. We can definitely table that, but it's exciting to hear,
Mhm.
you know, that finally. There's a lot of discussion on this panel about it. Yeah, that's awesome. So perfect. So our last two long-term goals, for a large new nature park and potentially a new facility. Would anybody like to head one of these two?
I don't think that there's anything to head until we do, UGB gets brought in,
Yep.
all that work's done, that's a couple of years down the road.
UGB and master planning, we are going to have to hold that.
Nothing to do there.
Okay. Perfect. Well, at least we have a couple priorities there that we can work with, but at least we're off the four good short-term goals that we can look to tackle. So any final comments before we move on?
Can I
In this
just
portion of the agenda?
mention
Yes,
that,
please.
I provided pictures, because in our last meeting, we had talked about things that potentially put at, Louis Park, and I was talking about more natural products, little things to put in the park. But these are some pictures of other parks, that I found for this. Doesn't have to be anything very big. Just something for kids to play on there. And then, one of the pictures is, a game park. And there's like, picnic field, tennis table and, cornhole and stuff like that. And so there's a couple, commercial prices of those two items in the back as well, so. Just some ideas.
I don't think that is that. I sort of did go over there at one point and sort of measured it. Not with a tape, guesstimating how big it actually is. And from these sort of ID pictures, I can definitely see some of these smaller,
The smaller.
lower to the ground things working, anything too big obviously would. there's a
No.
chance of it.
No,
Because especially to the fall area, and all the things,
right, you're just wanting a couple of
like I could see
things
this,
for kids to climb on
I
and,
can see this first one working out well.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah,
And even just,
Perfect.
you know, different things. Some logs and some little climbing up logs or whatever,
mm-hmm,
it gives them something to do.
oh, absolutely. Oh, I love it, it's great. I think it's something that as part of our parks upgrades, we should really look to explore the, yeah, seems like a pretty low cost, particularly relatively long-term idea, so I like that, that'll be good. Perfect, anything else with regards to these? Okay, perfect, moving on. To our next section here, discussion on planned parks in the Bryn Hill subdivision. I guess I can say this, I did talk and meet with Andy here. From my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounded like at this point, the Bryn Hill parks have already been planned out, they've already been approved, it's more or less set in stone. That at this point, there is no more room for adjustments to be made. That they have approved all the way through their stage 5. That the city planner right now is currently in that process of making final.
Correct.
Correct it? Okay, perfect. In that final process of making improvements there, but that. What it looks like in the future as far as our involvement, that I'm not sure, but it sounds like from what I understand. Regarding the meeting in the city, that everything is set in stone and has been
In the past,
approved and handled.
we met and went over what the plans were for each of the parks.
Mhm.
But I don't think we've done that with the last big one. So what's supposed to be in the last big park?
This is
believe
the
it's-
one with the skate park
Skate
and
park.
everything. And as far as I know, this was done before I even got here last year.
So the skate park has been approved.
Yep.
It's been approved for a long
A long
time.
Is
Yep.
that Jackson Park or Millie, the one that's a skate?
I could not tell you.
That could be, is that.
Whatever the biggest one is
The-
left over on the.
Oh, it's Jackson Park.
The
Yeah.
LA
I think the,
Yeah, Jackson. Park.
and then the same thing with the new restroom, even though it's going to be a Bryn Hill HOA park, it's going to be open to the public, but the city is going to be maintaining the restroom that is on one of those parks. And I believe it's the same one with the skate park.
Yep, I believe the city was maintaining that too, right? And
Yeah, the city will maintain the restrooms up there,
The,
but nothing else.
the only thing I'm a little uncomfortable with is, I don't think. I'm very comfortable when we chose what would go into Jesse May, this group. But when we're choosing what goes into somebody else's park that they have to take care of, then I'm less comfortable about that. And the one I'm concerned about is, and Zach could talk about this, there's a couple of you that live down there. There did not seem to be a groundswell of support for the skate park. That was more something the city was trying to put into their neighborhood, but they're the ones that are gonna have to maintain the skate park, because it's their HOA park. So that was the only one I thought perhaps the neighborhood should be allowed, because the neighborhood is now, what, 60% done? They should be allowed to give feedback whether they want that there. in
You
fairness.
might want to
Fine.
email Andy, because city didn't just say, hey, we want a skate park, because they tried to get one in, it's been a few years, do you remember, Patty, but back, I don't know, 50 years? 10 15
We have
years
to have
ago.
one here.
Yeah, it wasn't, I don't think it was anything the city was jumping to get. It was, hey, we want more than green space and we want more than play equipment for 2 to 8 year olds. We've got to have something for older kids.
No, I understood.
Because
the
we were getting asked about, hey, you know, what is there in town for preteens and teenagers to do? Nothing. We don't have a pool. We have a basketball court. Okay, we have a pickleball court. After discussion, it was, like I said, you probably want to talk to him about it. It wasn't like we went to them and said, we want a skate park in there.
And
And
it was.
it's not, is it anything that the Parks Board decided on? They did
No.
it all themselves.
No, we had to make, city had to make some agreements with was it Lennar?
Lennar.
Yeah, Lennar, yeah.
Yeah,
So this is out of our hands.
Out of our, yeah, from my understanding, it sounded like the city was handling the maintenance and insurance on that. If I understood that it was coming outside of the HOA as part of the
That's
agreement.
very possible. I don't know
I
the
believe that was the
details,
case.
but
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
And I could be misspeaking, but I believe after talking with Andy, it sounded like the city was in charge of the maintenance of the skate park as well as the insurance on it, that it wasn't coming through the HOA. Was my understanding of that.
We
I
can- we
believe
can
very
find
similar
out
to just
that.
like the bathroom. I believe the bathroom was being maintained
yeah.
by the city,
is
but not-
maintaining the restrooms, yeah.
correct.
Yep,
And like the liability of that, but it wasn't coming through the HOAs.
Just for the restroom.
Correct. As well as for, I believe it's for the skate park too.
see, and that was something.
Okay, I could be misspeaking.
Yeah,
I could
the
be wrong.
restrooms were not in the parks master plan. That's something that when you guys go to redo the master plan, you've got to put in something that for every 2,000, 4,000 square feet of park, there has to be a public restroom or something like that.
Mhm.
That came into the discussion about the same time as the skate park. And so the city worked with Lennar over several months, I believe, to come up with an agreement that both sides could agree to. Because we were adamant about having a restroom in another park up there. And because there's only one park, the other big one that has a restroom, and that was after the fact. We asked them to add it after the fact. And I don't know whether we had to pay part of that or not, but
Is that a porta potty or a real restroom?
no, I've never been up there, so I'm not sure. It seems to me it's a little,
Where at?
Veterans Park?
no, in Bryn Hill.
There's no bathroom.
There's no bathroom.
There's no bathrooms up in Grid Hill.
There's no bathrooms. Even the biggest.
Maybe
one
that's why
right
we
there, yeah,
agreed to
there's
this
no
one, that
bathroom.
I could have sworn that we were trying to get a bathroom in whatever big park is up there open right now.
Yeah, I think it's
think
that.
Bathrooms decided because of the construction, and all that, but besides that, I can't remember.
But
seeing-
otherwise, when they came to us with all the plans, there was not a single restroom in any of those parks up there.
The Parks and Rec discussed this several years ago when I was on it. And the overall feeling was, like Sunset Ridge, it was a mistake to not have a restroom.
Yep.
The recommendation of this group was, all future developments, there should be one permanent restroom. At that time, then we reached out to the developer and said, you've still got, they weren't quite done with one. Could we have one restroom in one of your remaining parks? And then eventually it came down to that one big one that's left. Let's put it there. So, and the overall, like I said, genesis of this is as we go forward, every single future development needs a permanent restroom. So that was formally done by this group. That's why I'm a little perplexed why, in theory, the skate park wouldn't flow through this group also.
That would be a question for
Yeah.
Andy.
You know, again, I have no issue at all if this group approves it for Jesse May, but we're putting a skate park in somebody else's neighborhood, and they're gonna have to take care of it, not the city. So that's my only concern, is we're imposing that on them, when in fact, a lot of them are already there.
Hmm?
Are we telling them to put that in there?
It's decided by the city, we didn't consult with anybody who lives there.
No, it's decided by the homeowners
But-
association.
No. The city met with the developer and said, we want a skate park. There was no.
I don't know if that's exactly how it was. I don't know if we went to them and said we want to.
I'm not saying that's bad.
I think it was a little give and take of, we really don't want. They were gung ho on a lot of green space.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
too much.
And too much green space. When you have a subdivision like that, where families are moving in, yes, you want some, but you don't want it.
All they are is a glorified.
Hunk of lawn. Yeah, you
That's all
don't
it
want
is.
that to take priority over playgrounds.
But those green spaces are plants, so you can't even play, there's not
Waste
even
of
a
space.
place that kids can run through or anything.
We just
because
drove
it's
all through
there.
it 2 weeks ago and.
Yeah,
So
Wow.
I think Don, I think it's, at this point, I would reach out to Andy and see what, if you have any pressing issues or options. My understanding, it sounded like it was set in stone and done, and I live over there, and I guess so be it, but, at this point, I would encourage you to reach out to Andy and go from there.
Yeah.
I would email him. He's in and out a lot this week.
Yeah.
I would send him an email.
Yeah.
I don't know enough to offer.
Well, and I would leave it too. There's two of you. You also live in the neighborhood, right?
Yep.
Johanna. I think ultimately it's not so much this group anymore. If the neighbors felt like they had a serious concern on what's gonna be in that park, I think you have a right to reach out to the city. And I
Yeah,
would just make
and the
that-
thing up there right now is the HOA is still all under Lennar. It's
Yeah.
not for 2 years that the HOA can be moved down to the residents. So right now the HOA is the incumbent of Lennar, so
You don't have
we've
say so in
tried, there's
anything.
no much of what we can do or say, or I've already tried.
Mhm.
I think until it gets transferred over to where cities has, residents have more involvement, in the HOA, I think that's where, but by then, I don't think it's gonna be until they're at the final phase.
They're at like 80% right now.
Yeah.
I already had a complaint about the basketball court up there being muddy and, you know, fence not being high enough. And I just had to go push that off to the HOA, which is Lennar.
Right.
And so we don't have any control
The
over,
basketball court is something else too. The group that put it in, right?
that is not us, that is the HOA.
Mhm.
Well, I think it wasn't even put in by the developer, right? The one that's kind of in the flood.
In the floodplain,
Yeah, it was.
it was put by the developer.
They all were.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, now.
In fact, that one, the Parks Board agreed, it came before the Parks Board.
Well, and I don't understand why they're complaining about it being muddy. I mean, it's.
It's in a floodplain.
In a floodplain.
Yep.
That's, you can't
Yeah.
use it all the time.
We're gonna hear the same thing about the dog park, so.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you know, I've been here 7.5 years, you hear it nonstop.
Yep.
People don't realize they don't do their due diligence when they move into this area. There's a lot of floodplain
Yeah.
in this town, a lot.
Yeah.
You know, some people, you get your backyard backs right up to it.
Yeah.
And they don't even realize it until after they've purchased their home.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and they just changed that map, what, a year ago?
I think it's been a couple of years,
a couple years, yeah.
2 or 3.
Years.
Perfect. Are we okay to move on? Okay, perfect. In regards to staff comments, Mr. Weber, do you have any comments at all?
Just a practical thing. Could we set this meeting up a little more in the round? It's just kind of frustrating because the way we're set up, you can't really see each other. I
Like a-
realize for city
like a circle?
council, yeah, kind of a semicircle. I realize with the city council, if there's a bunch of people out there, you need a different format, but that's, our committee isn't that kind of thing.
Just you.
Part of it is setting it up for future meetings.
Back and forth. Pardon? I also like my next exercise is by looking back and forth.
Part of it's setting up for future meetings. We've got another meeting this Wednesday as well.
Well, I don't mind if it's okay, I'll come early and just create a little more of a kink in it if it's okay.
We can
I
also-
think it's just nice to be able to see each other.
Is that a possibility, something we can do to make some adjustments? Do we want to make any adjustments?
I mean, as long as we put it back, I'm sure it's fine.
I can get my guy to put it in a horseshoe. If that's what the board wants.
So,
It would be nicer. I think it's really awkward to sit here all in one line and try and talk to people.
Move our heads back and forth.
so is this a unanimous decision? Would we like to see a reformation of our team?
I mean, just a little bit, just,
Yeah, we don't need a whole circle.
yeah.
Too much work.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Ms. Simmons,
I have nothing else.
okay. Ms. Burns,
Does anybody want to throw out dates for concerts?
You wanna have a look at their calendars and bring them back to the next meeting? Or email them to me and I can,
Better email them because bands are,
so,
yeah.
yeah.
okay,
What's the soonest that you start, in the month of June, or do you wait until July when there's for sure no rain?
No, the ice cream social.
We'll
usually
have one.
music, so
Okay.
June.
That's all.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And how many concerts?
Well, there again, I wanna make sure that, 6,700 is the correct number for concerts.
The number that I'm looking right now, it's not the 1,000 number. It says 6,700 for 23, 25.
Okay, so does that, yeah, I want.
Let me look to see if it's broken up any further, like if it's 3350 or something like that.
And then I would need to, see what Rowan's getting for music as well. Or, I guess, I'm not sure what she's doing.
I sent her some information of what Hillsborough used last year, and then I put her in contact and introduced her to the coordinator for special events with City of Hillsborough, so she can get some contacts for the concerts as well. And I believe that we're meeting this week.
Okay, well, I need to know, is she taking from this budget for that music or?
I don't know what Rowan
I'll
is.
find out.
Maybe some of those concerts would be combined with the food nights, the food trucks. Hillsborough has a great success having their music at the same time as the food stuff's going on. I mean, the other thing several of us noticed is, the time. A lot of people said it was too early. They'd rather it be closer to sunset, later in the day. And the other thing people loved is they love the 2-for-1 special, so if I can bring my kids and I get ice cream, first thing, and I get a concert.
It would be nice if Rowan would, work a little bit closer with Abby on that. Or at least communicate what she's doing.
On
so
what?
The music,
Was she supposed
because
to
it's
do-
part of the music in the park.
I don't even know.
I don't know if there's even music going on. That's,
For the ice cream social.
I don't know what's going, I haven't heard anything about the ice cream social.
Okay.
Perfect. Mr. King,
I have nothing.
Ms. Barra?
I don't have anything. I'll come back next month with what the foundation says after meeting this month.
Okay.
And if anything is questions, I'll email them to Lori.
Perfect. Anybody at the far end of the table? Anything else to add or say?
The only thing I'm gonna try to explain it in as brief as words as possible is that we're putting forth to the city council for a maintenance fee for parks and recreation. We're adding some new areas to do landscaping, mowing facilities, and I have a seasonal worker right now that he's nearing his term, and I do not have funding to keep him on to help with some of these facilities maintenance issues. And once we start, getting into the nitty-gritty of the budget and the cost of some of these facilities, especially when we take over Sunset Terrace, it's a pretty penny a month. And there's some other areas up on North Avenue that we have to take over. It's also a pretty penny a month. And in order to keep things the status quo, we are going to have to probably fund that landscape through a private contractor as well. And so there's some things that I'm trying to adjust with the budget right there, and that may require an additional fee. And this is something that Andy and Bill are working on and going to the council to propose some numbers.
Additional fee for who? Getting the fee.
People on, I believe it would be going on to the water bill, just like the transportation fee that,
I see what you're saying.
correct.
A tax, I mean, kind of a.
It's.
It's
not-
a service
not
fee.
called a tax.
It's-
It's a service.
It's a service fee
We
that goes
don't have
direct.
to go, it's not a levy, so we don't have to go to the voters.
Yeah.
Um,
Otherwise, if it doesn't get
That's very
passed, otherwise, if it doesn't get passed, then we're gonna be cutting down on some services. So that should be soon.
The tricky part is how do you get more money out of this?
Well, and I'm already running out of money with maintenance. And so some of these other projects that are coming on, I don't have money to pull from.
So so did you say that you're looking at getting more money to keep the seasonal worker on, or are you?
That's part of it.
To contract someone to come in and take care of this extra. like-
Both.
One or the other, or both.
It's ideally both. I have a very small public works crew that they're doing a lot of different things. And if I take away from one, they're hounded with work.
So your seasonal worker is specifically for mowing and stuff like that.
Basically, it's a high school student. Yeah, he,
only works so many hours.
correct,
As a seasonal.
about
yeah.
600 hours
Is
and
that
he's
what
reaching.
I said?
No.
No, it's a high school student that we have.
No, George, Isaiah is a full-time,
Mhm.
And so that seasonal worker, they get all the benefits?
No,
No, okay.
but I'm also looking into potentially hiring him full-time as well, because I need an extra crew member.
as a public works one, right?
Correct,
Like starting.
correct.
But there wouldn't be, we wouldn't require any training really, because he's already been working for us and kind of knows the system, so.
It'll be interesting.
Anything else? Any other comments?
No.
Does our ex officio chair have any news or updates from city council?
She's at the PAC meeting tonight.
No
I'll
worries,
save it at
fair
that.
enough, fair enough,
It's important that she attend those.
absolutely. Is there any possible topics for future meetings?
Maybe, just a possible topic is maybe going over some of the changes that we want in the Parks Master Plan.
Not. Andy said not to even look at the Parks Master Plan until
UGB
if
is
and
settled.
when the UGB. They're gonna start their planning process on that. And Parks can't do anything until they get to a certain point in that process.
So we don't even clarify some of the things that we want to
You
think
can,
about.
you can
discussing.
take notes and have them ready whenever the discussion begins, but Andy has
Well,
made it
that was
pretty
sort of my
clear.
suggestion, sort of take notes of what we want to.
Yeah, I don't think he's ready for it to be a group discussion,
Okay.
because then you guys kind of get rolling on it and you wanna, and I get that, you wanna. Well, we're doing this, oh, what about this? And it's still a ways out.
Okay.
So,
Is there a possibility of for next month when we meet, solidify a little bit more of these short-term ones that we have? I'll bring information in regards to the foundation for the kitchen and
Mhm.
what they're saying. And then kind of look more as to possible dates that the committee that's doing the programming, kind of when we can gather and kind of solidify more, what would that look like? What dates would that be? And what materials we would need for that. So if we needed like $100 to buy a basketball or a soccer ball, but if we don't, we can solidify more of that information next month.
so I could put down updates from all three of those subgroups.
Yes, all three of the subgroups.
Okay,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sounds perfect.
The newsletter, looking for donations,
I'll talk to Andy about it.
either equipment or cash funds to help support it.
I will put it on my to-do list. His list is growing.
And, one other question,
Sure.
is Dan still on our board?
Who?
Dan,
No, he resigned today because his work schedule changed.
Oh,
So I've got it posted on the website. It'll be posted in the 3 normal places in town where I post the agendas. And it's open until April 30th. I already do have one applicant that sent in his application last week, but because we have to post it publicly, I couldn't just invite him here for you guys to approve tonight. So Amy and all applicants will be attending your main meeting.
Perfect. All right, topic for next time, foundation kitchen update, and then some follow-up to your short-term goals. Perfect. Sounds great. Well, if there's nothing else, our next meeting will be scheduled for May 13th, 2024 at 6 p.m. This concludes the Parks and Recreation meeting at 7:31. I apologize for the lateness.